Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Huge controversy last night as ZooMaa draws the teams for his $75,000 flank invitational coming up today after some players, namely Scrappy, weren't too happy with the team that they had been drawn. They proposed for a respin in exchange for some gifted subs going the other way. This meant that certain players, arguably Dashy and Kenny, kind of got screwed over with the teams they eventually ended up with compared to what they could have had when the draws were initially done. This has caused a lot of controversy as to whether it's kind of ruining the tournament before it's even begun. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. First of all though, we've got to talk about the official CDL map set for the upcoming season. It is not all of these 16. It is these, well, basically 5 for Hardpoint and Search, 3 for Control. So we've kind of known for some time what they were going to be going for. This is what it officially is so far. So for Hardpoint, Invasion, Karachi, Skid Row, Subbase and Terminal, those are the 5 map mode combinations. Honestly, right now in Hardpoint, it ain't looking so good, you know. The spawns, it's a bit dodgy. Control, though, is even worse, so don't even worry about that. But Control, we do at least have 3. Based on scrims, the pros seem happy enough that high rise is at least acceptable. These are off center as well, aren't they? You see this Control in Hardpoints. They're not perfectly centered in the middle of this. That's kind of annoyed me actually now that I've noticed it. But whatever. Let's be honest, right? Back at the start of Vanguard, it was Tusk and Kavutu. And last year, we played Fortress Control for a large part of the year. So honestly, how bad can it be? Probably this is I shouldn't have said that, you know, should I? Let's be honest, because Control right now, it's looking so good. Hardpoint as well has its problems. I know people are talking about Subbase not being so good. I actually think Subbase is okay. I think that if they just changed around like a couple of the Hardpoint rotations, something like that, that could be better. Skid Row as well. Like, I actually kind of like the way Skid Row plays, but you know, P2 is obviously a bit of a nightmare. There's a couple of hills on the map which are a bit of a challenge, and maybe smoke grenades might help, you know, the maps in this game play a little bit better if one of them was allowed per team. I don't know. But yeah, for Search and Destroy, it's slightly different. So no sub-base search, but it's basically the same outside of that. But, of course, high-rise instead of sub-base. To be fair, there's been some people saying that maybe sub-base search could be good as well. And I don't mind sub-base search either, so look, it's early days. They might change things around over time, and I'm sure that they will this year. There's loads of new maps coming in over the course of the cycle. Meat, of course, among others. I just also wanted to say there's the entire competitive settings got put on the website, and I swear, do I not say every single time that the CDL does an announcement that they've made a mistake on the website? And I always roast them for it. They always get cooked, and I'm going to cook them again because, you know, does nobody proofread this stuff? I know that it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things and they fixed it, but it just annoys me because yesterday the competitive settings version 1.0 got revealed. I went on the website and we've got maps and modes list and search hardpoint control. They've just, you know, there was 3 hardpoints, 5 controls, and it's like, oh no, that was a mistake. We need to swap hardpoint and control. They eventually did that and it's like, okay, whatever, but I mean, come on, like, every time there's something wrong, but they fix it now. Anyway, all Modern Warfare 2 weapons are banned via the official rule set. This is the official rule set now fixed with control and hardpoints swapped the appropriate way around. Of course, all the settings, you guys can look into that in your own time. But restricted weapons, there's quite a lot. Restricted items, primary weapons, all of the MW2 weapons are officially banned, which is interesting for sure, because it means that, yeah, I don't expect that to change, you know, the Vaznev, the TAC, they're not coming off the ban list, probably. So, yeah, all of that's gone, which means that, as Parasite suggested the other day, the Vel 46, or whatever it's called, the MP7, could be a viable SMG in this game. They're not going to be using it because it's banned in the official rule set. Lots of other weapons are banned. Shotguns, marksman rifles. Kind of expected stuff, I guess, at this point. Few attachments as well have been banned as well. Not all of the, like, ammunition stuff. I know there's talk right now about, like, is it the high grain or whatever on the ARs that people are using to good effect. So, you know, possibly that might get banned as well over time. Some things with the tactical grenades. Lethals, field upgrades, vest, for example, as well. So pretty much infantry is what you're going to be using. Gloves, gear, streaks. Now, notably on streaks, to be fair, was the SAE, because you guys probably well remember last year the SAE caused a lot of controversy right at the start of the season. OpTic versus Minnesota Rocker. Cammy used the SAE. The glitch, you guys know the story and how that went at the time. So Skunk was yeah, rather satisfied, shall we say, to see the SAE officially banned in this year's set of rotations. And when things go onto the ban list, they basically don't come off. So yeah, all of these things are officially banned in the rule set. Anything else like smokes or, you know, snipers, we'll see, or whatever, or let's say mandating the use of no knife, which is not allowed, or mandating the use of a red dot on your ARs, those are things that are gentlemen's agreements, aren't on the official list, but that's how it of course has been for years. Now of course, understandably, there was also talk about no capture the flag, because control's there, but there's no CTF, and Method is like, bring back CTF. The fact of the matter is, it's not even in the game. I think, was it Doug that commented on this as well? Yeah, he said remove control from competitive cards and capture the flag at Sledgehammer Games. You know, I wish CTF was in the game so they could have tried it. It's not, so we're kind of stuck with control. I guess at least there's 3 maps because, yeah, I mean, it might not be better. They might just play 2 anyway because one of them might be terrible, but at least there's something going on. For a third game mode, this was the other thing that I just brought up there about the possibility of reducing maximum damage of frag grenades. So, I don't know what you guys think about that. The frags are pretty strong, but with EOD, I think they're not, you know, they're not unbalanced, if you know what I mean, right now, and most people use Semtexes for respawn anyway, but yeah, potentially a frag grenade nerf could be in the works according to what they happened to say on the Reddit last night. Now, there was continued drama between Scrappy and Clay. We've talked about plenty of it, of course, over the last couple of days, yesterday especially, and it has been great to watch, especially the Toronto versus Carolina scrims. This was one good example here, actually, of Clay again shooting Scrappy's body. Here we are on Skid Row. He gets 3 kills there, actually, so he kills one out of the hill, takes down, I think this is, yeah, Envoy, and then the last guy in the hill is Scrappy, gets him a little bit weak, goes in with a Chal with a pistol, gets the kill, and obviously shoots his body for a little while as well. So Clay versus Scrappy is going to be very entertaining this season, and especially so because they're actually matching up relatively early on. The CDL, the social media guys over there, have been paying attention to the drama the last couple of days, and they say Scrappy and Toronto, Clay and the Ravens, they play for the first time Saturday, December the 16th. So that is the second weekend of Major 1 qualifiers that are happening in December. They play very quickly indeed. So they've only ever played twice, I'm pretty sure, these two, and they've never played on LAN. So hopefully that changes this season based on what has happened lately. But the big drama of yesterday really was the, well, as we see the flag even say, we might see Clay and Scrappy in tomorrow's big tournament. I'll just rig the bracket so they play first round. A bit of foreshadowing here from ZooMaa because there was definitely, in some people's opinion, some rigging of the bracket and the teams here going on. So this was the Flank Modern Warfare 3 Invitational. Fantastic tournament, $75,000, and all of the CDL pros, right? And this is what it's all about. This is probably the best format, in theory, of any of the tournaments that we actually see, because, as we've said before, they're not allowed to do all the CDL teams to play. So the best they can really do, often they'll do like content creators, challenges, and pros. It's never quite as good as when you get the both ARs on every team, both SMGs on every team, mix and mash them all across the league, so you get like half OpTic, half FaZe, or whatever, and we'll discuss that in more detail in a second, and those are the teams that get formed for the tournament. Great stuff, no doubt, and well, ideally, great execution as well. So, yesterday, on the flank, they decided to go through and draw the teams. So, all of the AR duos, all of the SMG duos, mix and mash them, see what happens, and it turned out that OpTic and New York effectively ended up swapping teams. So Dashy and Kenny, from the OpTic AR perspective, they got HyDra and Kismet from the New York SMGs. And then also, Priestahh and Shotzzy on the SMGs happened to draw Sib and Skyz from the New York AR side. So these were some, very nice teams. And one of these, I think this team still exists. We'll see in a second. This top team, though, does not still exist after some consistent controversy. So, yeah, Dashy, Kenny, HyDra, Kismet. That was like, damn, you've done pretty well. If you've drawn that team, you've done pretty well. And sure, you never really know who's going to win. At the end of the day, you get teams like, Illy and Drazah, Proludes, Decimate, Blast, teams like this that dominate all these search and destroy tournaments. But on paper, you might think, oh, well, that FaZe team looks pretty good. So you never really know what combination of these players is going to do best for one of these very early kickoff tournaments. But still, you kind of want the world champions on your team, right? HyDra and Kismet is not a bad SMG duo to have. So I imagine Dashy and Kenny were pretty happy with the draw that they had at the time. But Scrappy, he got paired, Scrap and Insight, with Vivid and Lins from the Minnesota Rocket, and he wasn't so happy about it. And this is just like, this is one of the funny things, that Scrap was effectively roasting these guys, saying that he doesn't want to play with Vivid and Lins. He reckons it's chalked, like he'd much prefer to have HyDra and Kismet, for example, as his SMG duo. So, always funny when you've got duos of certain teams, kind of beefing at duos of other teams, saying they're not good, don't want to play with you guys type thing. So Scrappy proposed a respin. How about, alright, let's do this again, and get me a new kind of pair of teammates. So Scrappy obviously was pretty keen to make this happen. And then ZooMaa had to make some sort of call. Do they do respins after the initial draw? Because, you know, that's kind of what makes the tournament fun and also fair, is that there's, you know, it's random, you know, they do a random generator and the teams are the teams and you have to work with what you've got. But Scrap was like, no, I want to respin. And ZooMaa asked the chat, was like, look, do you want to do respins in exchange for gifted subs? And because the chat was getting gifted subs, they were like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then ZooMaa was like, okay, if you drop 25 gifted or whatever it was, then it will do the respin. So then you get players dropping, you know, gifted subs in the chat to get the respins through. And that's basically what happens. Like, as Capsidal says, these are crazy strays with a gifted for a respin. And that's the funny thing, right? If you're paying money to change your teammates away from the guys you've currently got, you know, you're definitely throwing strays. But Kenny, I mean, he probably wasn't happy with the outcome of this, because in the end, Dashy and Kenny's team went from being with HyDra and Kismet to with Joe, Thieves and Afro, and because they did a couple of respins, and Scrappy and Insight ended up getting HyDra and Kiz. So this is where the controversy really, you know, kicked off, and these were the final versions of the teams here. But this is the thing, I mean, you know, you're paying money, and I know that this money, eventually the gifted sub money, ZooMaa said he's going to give it to charity. I don't know if that was necessarily his initial plan with these whole respin things, but it definitely, you know, caused a bit of chaos, because if I'm Dashy, or let's say I'm Kenny, or just someone who seems to have got kind of screwed over here by, you know, look, JurNii, Thieves and Afro, great SMG duo, but it's not quite, you know, they're not world champions, are they? And I'm sure that if Dashy and Kenny got to choose, they would probably be choosing HyDra and Kiz, which is, you know, the team they nearly had and no longer have, because they are now with Scrappy and Insight after the respins that went through. Like, if you're a player on one of the lower teams in the league, you don't necessarily have the money to drop on these, you know, to try and get a respin to win this $75,000 tournament, because, you know, that couple of $100 or whatever that Scrappy spends putting in to get the respin and get a better team, that's probably going to pay dividends when it comes to actually being in the tournament itself. And because there's a lot of money on the line, there's $75,000, you know, it's a big deal. People want the best teams possible. So I think that maybe ZooMaa should have just said, look, no, we're not doing that. It's RNG for a reason, and that's how it's going to be. Because opening the door to this definitely makes people feel like it's pay to win. You know, you just keep respinning again and again, dropping gifted subs until you get a team that you think is going to win the tournament, and that's going to pay money back. Even though maybe some players in the league that are playing for minimums aren't necessarily in a position to do exactly that. And also, you get the problem of certain players won't necessarily have been there. You know, if you were there and in the chat, sure, you can drop the gifted to get the respin. But if you were, you know, not present, then you had no repercussions. You know, you had nothing to do. You were just there, just letting the gods decide, but then actually letting Scrappy decide, because he got to respin as many times as he wanted, in theory, to get the team that he wanted. So yeah, definitely controversial. I think that the format on paper is fantastic, but when you have allegations of it being kind of pay to win, and you can see why, it definitely takes away some of the luster tomorrow. Especially if Scrappy's team was to go on to win, people would think like, come on, was this not a little bit unfair? Anyway, these are the teams. So Pred, Shotzzy, Simp, Skyz stayed. Priestahh and Slasher with Stanley Nero from the Vegas Legion. Vivid Lin's Illy Arcetes in the end. So that was, well, that used to be with Scrappy and Insight. No longer the case. Snoopy, Cap, Godorex and Clay. That's actually a very interesting team. Gwyn, Rael, Purge and Attach. Fame, Estriel, Vikul, Lucky. Simp, aBeZy, Ghosty and Cammy. So it's like the FaZe LA Thieves combination, which is actually very interesting to see how Ghosty will do, I guess, with the Tiny Terrors. Dashy, Kenny, JurNii, Thieves, Afro, as you mentioned. CleanX, Envoy, Accuracy, Awakening. Cell, Drazah, Hookah, aBeZy. So it's the AR combination of FaZe with the SMGs, technically with aBeZy there, of Seattle. We talked about the Scrappy team, and then JurNii, Erikboom, Diamond Con Assault rounding out, of course, from the, well, Los Angeles Grillers and the Miami Heretics side, respectively. But yeah, lots of controversy in this one. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.